What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Happiest Hour on Earth. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm your other host, Emily.
And tonight we are going to get a little bit vulnerable. We are going to be talking about the pros and the cons of running a Disney podcast, being a Disney influencer. I don't know.
Yeah, do we count as that?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but we fall within that space, right? We are on social media. We do post every couple of days, but we also run this podcast. So not only are we going to be talking about the influencer side of running a page, we're going to be talking about what it's kind of like to run a podcast, having episodes every single week. It's going to get pretty crazy, I feel like. We also asked for some questions from our listeners. So some of these we were surprised. We were like, these are really good questions. Yeah. Some get pretty deep and personal. Yeah. And so
gonna get in our feels tonight.
Yeah, it's really good. So thank you for all of the listeners who sent in their questions. It really means a lot. We cannot wait to get to those. First, we're going to be talking about the cons, the pros, and then the questions. But we just want to thank you guys so much for just being so supportive of our show. We are on our way to 800 subs on YouTube. I think we have about 15 more. So if you could help us get there, that would mean so much. Also, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and give this video a like. That really helps out our channel. And if you're listening on a podcasting platform, go click the follow button, 5 stars wherever there is. There's also a lot of really cool links below in the description. A lot of really cool ways that you can save on Disney products, Disney candles, Disney coffee, Disney shirts, Disney vacations. Go check it out there. Lots of cool stuff. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
All right, so we are excited for this episode. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot of fun stuff, some deep stuff, it's just going to be pretty well-rounded. We're pretty excited, but we will be taking next week off from the podcast, actually, because we are going to be on our Disney trip. Yes. So very pumped for that. Yeah, we're getting prepped for it this week. We're so excited, so nervous to go with our 2 kids for the first time, but it's going to be really fun. We're excited. So as we are prepping for that trip and kind of, strategizing, content planning and all that kind of thing, we just thought this was a good time to chat about some of the positives and negatives of running a page and podcast. So we have been doing this now for 3+ years.
That's insane.
Nuts to think about. It was when our first son was 7 months old, and he is now turning 4 in a couple months.
He's 7 months old, and our second one is now 7 months old.
What the heck?
That's crazy. And
time flies.
That was the first time, because we started when our first was 7 months old. So when we had our second, that was the first time we were doing a podcast during newborn. Yeah. Which was crazy. And that was really hard to plan. We did a whole bunch of episodes before the baby came. Yeah. And then I did some by myself. Like, that was a crazy transition, but we made it through, which is insane. But I can't believe we've been doing it for 3 years.
It's not.
Because that's just been our Tuesday nights. Yeah. Every single week since then. And it's just weird to look back and be like, wait, 3 years.
And it's changed as the time has gone on, like we'll get more into some of that as the episode goes on. But things have.
Now we're at episode 134 or something. Nuts. I think that's what this is. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. It has been.
But let's
jump into some cons. Okay, we're starting negative, and then we're going to talk about the positives. So, first con, this is very self-explanatory. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to run a page, but also a podcast on top. Because, you're trying to, I had this whole thing where, okay, I'm going to post 3 days a week. And so you're trying to think of content creation in that way, but then you're also trying to come up with episode topics and then making the episode and editing the episode, then coming up with a thumbnail because we're also on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not just even like podcasting platforms. It's YouTube as well, which adds a whole other side of, editing and all those things for you.
Yeah. If it were just the influencer side of it, it's still a lot of work. Especially because we don't live close to the parks. So a lot of times
Or
we have to learn how to,
stuff.
yeah, there's some recycling. And then there's also like, I've found it to be easier to do reels because it's so hard to like try to find photos we haven't used.
Yeah.
But with a reel, you could just use similar stuff that you've done in the past, but like rework it to be new and fresh. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. But yeah, it's a lot of work.
And reels are kind of just what Instagram is now. Like if you
Yeah.
scroll through your feed at any point, usually you're just seeing reels. That's just the world of Instagram now, which is crazy because it started out as just photos. Like that's it.
Yeah. And reels, like those have definitely gotten easier, but yeah, trying to learn all of that. And even you could know everything about it and put so much time and effort into creating a reel, and then it just doesn't hit, you know? Same with an episode. Put so much time and effort in, you think you do a good job, and then that one just doesn't really do so good. So that's also a con too, is when you put so much work into it and then not a lot of people see it, that, you know, you kind of deal with that defeat kind of feeling a lot, but you know, you just keep pushing through. But do you want to get this next one? It kind of goes hand in hand, I guess, with this.
Yeah, it does, I would say. And we've had some of this in recent days, I would say. Just a lot of burnout and creative blocks. It's hard. I mean, we've been doing it for a while, so we have used up a lot of topics. So that creative, you know, block hits a lot because it's like, what have we not talked about yet?
Yeah,
like
we've made over 130 episodes.
Yeah.
So like, what else is there to talk about?
How do we just like create ideas and
you
know?
Obviously use like some of your best ideas at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like, we might just have to revisit some of those topics at some point, which
actually
could be fun.
It would be fun.
But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And the burnout of, you know, life
with two kids.
With young kids especially. Like that is consuming. That is very time consuming. And it's hard to get to the end of a day with two kids and then like suddenly just get peppy and get on top of your game to like talk about stuff. We've had some nights recently where it was like things were just not working in our brains, you know, like it's I don't know. It's hard to explain even, but you know, you get very, very burnt out, and it is our outlet. It is a fun outlet for us. But if we in ourselves aren't feeling like just on our game, then we just don't feel like it's like coming through in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the interesting thing too. We did have a creative block like maybe a month or so back. And then all of a sudden, I think I just changed my mindset as like, anytime I thought of an idea, I'm just going to write it in my notepad, even if they weren't good ideas, and just like have a list and then filter out. So I feel like I need to just like get anything out that I think of, and then we could kind of work from there. But there was a time where I was like, there's nothing else to talk about. Yeah. And so, you know, last week we talked about something kind of totally like still within the Disney realm, but kind of outside of that, which is really fun. Like we want to obviously stick to Disney stuff, but that was like Disney adjacent. And so kind of doing things like that. And tonight we're talking about like making a podcast. It almost is a little bit of a break before we go back into some Disney topics. And then sometimes things just happen, right? Like sometimes the parks are doing something like tonight that we're recording this, May 7th, Disneyland Forward got approved. So there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming in. Tokyo Disney Sea's opening Fantasy Spring soon. So there's a lot of really cool things happening right now. But for a time, it was just like a lull. Like the parks opened up after 2020 and like there was so much excitement, then just nothing happening. But now we're kind of back into it. But yeah, creative blocks are hard and burnout by the end of the day. We don't start our episodes till about 9 at night after a full day of work, stay at home momming, and then dinner with the kids, put down all the stuff. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's so fun. We'll talk about the pros soon. So you guys will see that. But next one is that our trips look a little bit different. We love going to the parks, but there's this mindset of, okay, we're here and we don't know when the next time we're going to be here is going to be. So we try to get as many photos as possible, but you're also trying to enjoy the park, not just take pictures. So it's kind of this, especially now with kids too, we want to be very present with them. So there'll be like periods of time where we just try to get a whole bunch and then try to set our phones down for a little bit. And I've heard some people do trips where they set aside a day where they're like, I'm not gonna worry about that. And so, maybe there'll be a day where we're kind of like that this trip, because we're staying one day longer than we normally do. So hopefully there's a day where we're just like, okay, like we get photos if we want, but we don't have to stress about that. But yeah, trips look different. Still just as amazing, just as fun. Trips also look different because we have kids now.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking that too. In my head, I was like, it's
and
different.
a social media, influencer podcast thing. So
Things have
now
just
it's like
changed a
two
lot.
different things. Yeah. We do want to plan a trip where it's literally just us again, like even for a day, and just to experience it like we did when we were,
kidless,
young adults. Yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's a big one for sure.
That's true. Another one that is not a great aspect of running a page and podcast is just comparison. And that goes with anything on social media. I think I would say even on our private pages, I feel like it's very easy to fall into comparison traps. And that's no different with a podcast influencing page.
Yeah.
There's just so many pages out there in that world of Disney influencers. And, you might see someone else out there just like really hitting it and getting, just getting all those views and all that.
Yeah.
stuff.
It's comparison in so many different ways. Like for me, since I do a lot of the Instagram stuff, like comparison in the fact of like, I literally created something I feel like was so amazing. And then just like this other random video could just be, a short little video, and that's getting a lot of traction. So there's comparison, like views and likes. And then there's also comparison in the way of like, man, they go to the park so often. Like I wish I could be going down there. Cause we were talking, if we live closer, it'd be so fun to do like Disney vlogging.
Yeah.
That's why we chose podcasts, cause we don't live close to the parks, but yeah, just comparison that way. Oh man, he gets to go every week or something. And there's comparison of just like, oh man, they have really nice stuff. They, whatever, like there's comparison in social media all the time. But yeah, that's a big one. It's hard, especially if you put so much work into what you're creating and you don't see any gains from it. And we're so thankful that recently, I mean, it's not about numbers, but it's been really cool to see, a lot of people connecting with our stuff. But if you're trying to create a whole bunch of stuff and, there's not a lot of traction, that doesn't mean that you're not good at what you're doing. The algorithm is crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy. We've learned a couple of things that we think have helped. So if you have any questions on that, let us know in the comments below or DM us. But regardless, the algorithm changes a lot. So it's not what you're doing. Just know if you get into the social media stuff, it's so hard to gain followers. It's so hard to have, visibility and all this stuff. It takes a lot of time, and just know that you're amazing at what you do. It's not that.
And keep going.
Keep
trying, because at some point something's going to click.
And it's sad too, because I think the more followers you have, the easier your reach is. So just breaking through that first couple of numbers is just really, really hard. And so
it is.
Thankful for all those people. And that's another con thing too, is that when we're running an Instagram and then also a podcast, it's hard sometimes to get people over to the podcast. Like there's a lot of people on our page, and then we have, listeners on our podcasting platforms. We're trying to grow our YouTube. And that's hard to transfer those people, because I think they're very
may or may
people.
not even know that there's a podcast. Like they may just see a reel that we posted and follow
their
based
Instagram
on that
content. Yeah.
And maybe not even go to the page and see like podcast, and it's like, well, I guess they at least like the content on the page, but we're like, first and foremost, we're a podcast.
Yeah. And it's hard because it's like, Instagram is all about short content. I try to make everything 15 seconds or below. But it's like, okay, I have to make short content, and then we're a long form podcast. So it's hard getting those people who like quick short to like listen to a long form thing. So that's something, that you have to think about. And it's hard to do that. So,
and like, just, I don't know what made me think of this, but another interesting thing is thinking about like just how we started our page and what our like niche was then has changed. I mean, if you recall, I don't, we probably have people listening from way back then to more recent, but we started our page with a big emphasis on recreating Disney snacks and drinks. That was why we chose the name that we did for the podcast.
It was a happy hour with some
happy
friends.
hour, yes.
Some snacks and drinks.
Chatting about Disney. Yeah. And that was our thing for solid first 2 years, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when we kind of took the hiatus, but it turned into more of a, we're done with that, I guess.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Like that was a real bummer.
But that's where you were getting a lot of the views initially, was on those reels, because we were creating reels on the recipes. And then those just started not doing very well.
Yeah, and so it was like multiple things. First off, we had the burnout of like, oh my gosh, we created like every single snack and drink, it felt like. So the ones that we were making just weren't as popular. People didn't really know it because we already did all the big ones. So we saw those reels diminishing. So we're like, and we saw other content that we were making, reels, bump up. And so we're like, okay, so maybe let's focus a little bit more on this. Plus, when our kids go to bed at 8:30,
it was
and then making something,
so much time.
we had to, for like mental sanity, be like, okay, I think we have to cut out the snacks and the drinks, because we weren't starting podcasts sometimes till like 10 at night.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard. So we're like, let's focus on the actual meat of the episode and the content and everything. So, things will shift and stuff. And so that's kind of what happened there.
And it was so fun. Like I really loved doing it, and I would love to do it again. Maybe we'll just do it once every so often, just like to kind of like relive those memories. But it was hard. It was really hard to come up with stuff, and then financially buying stuff every week to make those recipes. Like life is expensive already. And then to have to like buy alcohol or, very specific ingredients for a food thing. Like it was just getting tough. So,
and that kind of goes to our next one, how expensive it was. The last con that we have here is it's currently just a hobby. It's not a moneymaker. We do every so often make some money through like affiliate stuff. So if you want to support us and get good Disney stuff, links below. Shameless plug. That really goes to help our show. But even that, it's more minuscule. But yeah, it's not like we're just making.
Yeah, we're not like raking in the bucks making a podcast.
Yeah.
I've always heard people say,
like a little extra that's like, oh, this is good to have, and we'll
it can be used for some fun stuff. But if you start a podcast, generally it's not going to be for the money side of it. Like unless you just somehow manage to like really hit it and like make something huge. It's mostly for fun. Yeah,
so it's it's a lot of work for no real financial reward, just the reward of
meeting people,
which we'll talk. Okay, let's get into the pros. We're going for that. Do you want to kick us off with the first pro, since you already did? No,
that was unintentional, actually. I didn't realize that's where we were starting, but
let's do it.
Our first pro is just connecting with other Disney fans out there, which has been a huge part of this page for us. I mean, we have met so many people, so many incredible people that are listeners or just friends that we've met through the page. And it's been incredible.
Other people who are doing the same thing as us, like podcasts and stuff like that.
All different types of influencers in that realm.
Influencers, but then also just listeners. Yeah. It's been amazing. I mean, there's a lot of these people I would just love to meet in person. And, it's hard, to reply to every direct message. Well, I think we replied to almost every direct message. Comments are hard because they sometimes will just flow through. But we've met some really, really nice people, great people that we've just chatted back and forth, and we just get a nerd out about Disney with. Yeah. And it's just been so great.
We've built
meeting so many awesome people.
Real friendships with so many of these people. I mean, like,
I would love to meet these people in person.
So many. And a lot of them aren't from the Disneyland side. A lot of them are from Disney World. So it's like, we don't get to plan on meeting them anytime soon, but it's great that we do have the social media page, because it's a great way to connect and just keep in touch with people that we've met.
Yeah, really, that's what it all comes down to. And we'll talk about this in our questions, but there's been times that have been really tough, and a kind word from some people who, we've met and we've been talking to these past couple of years, but sometimes it'll just be someone in passing who's just like, hey, I listen to your podcast and I listen every week and it just really means so much. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even, it's like your first time talking, and little something like that, even if it doesn't, go anywhere after that, just hearing that little word of encouragement is just insane. It's so awesome.
The support is incredible. I mean, those kinds of messages still to this day, like surprise and shock us when
sometimes
we're
it feels like we're just doing it for ourselves. And then
or like we know of like the initial maybe like 20 or so people that we know are just like our diehard fans that we love, but then when there's people that we've never met or talked to and they're like, oh, we listen every week, it's like,
it's
what?
Shocking,
like it's crazy to think, just how far your reach really can go when you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's the best feeling, honestly.
It's awesome.
Another pro is that we've gotten to interview some really, really amazing people. So not just, talking through the page and everything, but being able to interview amazing people. So a whole bunch of small shops, which is just so inspiring, that someone is able to just put their all into something and actually run a business off that. A lot of different influencers, which has been really cool. We talked to an Imagineer for our 10th episode ever while we were still trying to figure everything out, which is insane. Different podcasts, actually 2 podcasts that we've met, Make It Magical and Market House Podcast. They live kind of within our area and they've become really, really good friends.
Such good friends.
So that's super cool. We've talked to cast members in the past, Disney tattoo artist, and then also a singer, Kaylin Kelly from D Capella. Like, that was just the best, being able to just learn more about everyone's life, how they started the businesses, how they got into D Capella, how they started podcasts, all this cool stuff. So that's a huge pro. That was like, I don't know, when I look back on our time, just being able to talk to all those people, and
that
hear
is
their stories were
huge highlight of this whole thing. Getting to talk to all the people that we have and just interview them and just hear their stories really is. That's going to be one of my favorite memories, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Doing this whole thing. Another one is getting discounts. That's a fun plus to this whole thing, whether it's through, small shops that we've partnered with, that we, have been affiliates for. That's been really cool to just, get some fun Disney merch or products that we maybe wouldn't otherwise. It's been a really fun part of it. Also, we actually are going to be hosted for the first time ever at the hotel that we'll be staying at on our next trip, which is just crazy to think about. We'll have more on that coming. For sure. We cannot wait to stay there. It's going to be really fun.
First time being hosted. I'm so excited.
It's crazy.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're pretty pumped. So getting discounts, no one can deny that that's a great benefit.
I really wish we got discounts to the park if Disney gave us discounts, but I love the small shop discounts that we get, that we partner with. And it's always a fun perk for sure. This is definitely, I would say, what it really boils down to for us both is it's really just been an outlet for us to talk Disney, to just have a hobby that we do together and that we can connect on because it's something that we're both passionate about. I feel like most hobbies, people are doing them by themselves or with their friend. And this is just a cool thing to have a hobby together.
It's so random. It's not something we ever planned to do, but it's been so fun. It just wouldn't be the same if it was just one of us doing it.
Actually, we know a couple of podcasts who did start that way. Market House and Make It Magical both started just a single person, and they were just like, I need my spouse.
It adds so much to the episodes to have banter back and forth and ideas, from both people. And I can definitely say for us that's been the case. It's just been really a fun growing experience for us. And for me personally, I feel like I've flexed my muscle of, just getting out of my shell. I was never someone that really liked to be on camera or, definitely had never interviewed anyone before. And so getting to do all that stuff alongside you has just been really really a fun part of this.
Yeah, I second that too, because I feel like when everything went crazy during 2020, I feel like my social skills were just like,
oh my gosh,
gone. I was like, I'm not talking to people.
Mine still are in person. I'm still working on that.
And so this is given, an opportunity to kind of flex that a little bit. Sometimes I'm still like, as I'm editing the video, I'm like, what am I saying here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
But,
have moments like that all the time. Like, I hope people know what I'm trying to say.
I know. It does. And there's sometimes where we just pause and we're like, what are we talking about?
Yes.
But we'll cut that out later. But yeah, no, it's to have a hobby together is really cool. Also to like celebrate the wins together. And yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool to do something as a husband and wife team.
I agree.
It's so great.
Yeah, it really is so great. And, this just kind of came to my head too, being adult Disney lovers. I think it's fun how it keeps our Disney flame alive,
Yeah.
I think, because when you're not going to the parks all the time and, there's not always ways to like just
Connect
tune
back to
into that Disney magic. It's a way for us to just kind of like, again, just have that outlet to talk about stuff. I think it's great that like we love Disney so much and it's a way for us to connect with our son.
Yeah.
That's something that's been on my mind lately is like, it's one like childlike thing that we just love and we can nerd out on.
Yeah,
and like
him.
it's helping our connection with him too.
Yeah.
Which is just so great. I don't know if that totally relates back to the podcast,
totally. Yeah.
but it's just come to my mind lately that, it's just fun to have a childlike sense about you when you have a child.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's a different kind of connection.
It's so great. I love it. Well, we are getting into some questions and some of these are crazy, really good questions from you guys. I guess we could start with the first one here. We heard from @Market House Podcast who said, who's your favorite Disney podcast to collab with and why is it Market House? Because you guys are amazing. You guys are the best.
Obviously.
No, it's definitely Make It Magical. So, no, just kidding. No, we love both of you guys so much.
So much.
You're incredible.
Some of the best parts of having this podcast is meeting our other podcasting friends. Seriously.
Yeah, we love you guys so much. And I'm so glad that we're in a community that really
boosts each other up. Yeah. There's
up.
no like competition feeling, I feel like, between definitely us three, the trifecta.
Yeah, NorCal podcast.
Yes, like we all just like support each other and we all listen to each other's episodes and it's fun to do this together.
Yeah. But they did actually have another one. I know that was a joke one, but it actually turned out really sentimental. So
still a great question.
Yeah.
But
Do you want to get this one?
Yeah. Their, I guess real question was, how do you juggle staying up on content / episodes when you have two little ones, work, etc.? We kind of talked about this a little bit. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's, we each have our own stuff going on all throughout the day. He has a full-time job. I'm a full-time, homemaker here. And we've just got a lot going on. Our plates are full. Our brains are busy and full all the time. So it's, there are times where we feel like we're scrambling to get things together and like we're, coming up with topics, maybe sometimes a little bit last minute and it feels like maybe a bit of a disjointed episode. But we do our best. And, I feel like we have very loving, supportive, encouraging listeners and followers, and they're very understanding if, our lives are spiraling and we have to like miss a week or, if things are just too chaotic and, maybe we have a short episode or something, sometimes life just happens and plans change and you have to just roll with it.
Yeah. And I would say on that as well is that I think our weeks are pretty structured, as in like Monday, we always sync up and talk a little bit about the podcast. Wednesdays I always edit. Like there's certain days where we do certain things. I sit in our son's room currently while he's going to sleep. I use that time to like do a lot of, planning. Like one night it's coming up with episode topics, just like brainstorming some. Other nights it's like creating a reel while he's like trying to go to sleep. Also, you get ready like at night. And so during that time, I usually do stuff for the podcast. So I find little pockets of time throughout the week that just add up to a lot. But yeah, it is hard. It is hard to keep it going. But we somehow do it.
Yes. And I will definitely shout out him because as you just heard, he does most of the heavy lifting of this page and podcast. I help out.
You
with
do.
topics.
You help me out so much.
When we're
show
coming
would
up,
be nothing without you.
we're coming up with topic ideas and episode planning and all that. I jump in, but it's definitely mostly him that does everything. So it definitely would be nothing without you running things.
That's why we work together. If you want to hear something crazy, we're recording this episode. So I'm also preparing a lot of episode stuff. I'm also DJing a wedding on Friday on top of work. So my nights have been a little crazy, but
wild, chaotic. He's a multitasker to the max and he's very organized. So thank God for that because
at the set certain times slots to do things. Yeah.
Yes. But he's very good at like in his mind, like figuring out when he's going to work on certain things and he follows through on that. I'm sometimes not the best at that and I'm trying to get better at it, but it's hard. It's hard when we had our first son, that throws all of your life out of whack and your, whatever your routine and schedule was before that is completely out the window. And it takes some time to feel like you get into a groove again. I finally felt like I got that after like a year of having him. Yeah. And it was great. It was solid for 2 more years. And then we had our second son. And I feel like I'm still kind of in that limbo of trying to figure out my structure because you're adding on a whole new person to the everyday life. And there's just a lot of needs and I'm getting there.
You hold their house down so well with the 2 boys.
Yeah. I'm trying.
So I'm so appreciative of that.
You.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but we're getting there. And I'm trying to get myself structured a little bit better. So
no, you're killing it. You're crushing it. Next, almost. So this is the episode, or this is the question that we were like, because it kind of happened recently. So we heard from @Rox Lehman, who's been such a huge supporter for such a long time. And she said, have you ever considered quitting and what inspired you to continue? There's been times where it's been like, oh man, we just need a break.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of probably a month or a little over a month now where it was just an insane day at the house. The kids were going crazy and all this stuff. And we had
one day. We had a couple of rough
leading up to it
days and a couple of rough Tuesdays, the days that we record.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like one day where like
it was kind of one that was like
it was a
really
point.
Hard episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a really hard episode with a lot of notes and like a lot of stuff. And we were just so tired at the end of that day.
Yeah.
And it was just it wasn't really clicking. And, I edited a lot of that episode. I feel like there's just so much information that we were trying to get through.
Those episodes are hard for me.
By the end of that, we were like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah. We had a little sit down heart to heart sesh that night, I think.
Yeah. And it was really like, it was really emotional because we love this show so much and we love all of you guys.
Yeah.
But we were so close.
We had a moment. We definitely had I think we were at our breaking point a little bit that night. And it was like, I don't know.
We're like, well, let's just do one more week.
Not even 1 week. It was like, we kind of wanted to just give it some time, revisit the topic after like a month or so and just see where we felt about it.
And the funny thing is like the episode after that, it like vibed so well.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really smooth. And I think we just had to look at it and like reassess what kind of topics we're doing, going for more open-ended ones rather than super informational heavy, because it's really hard at the end of the day. If we do want to do an episode like that, like maybe I take that, so you can relax. So we're trying to figure out ways to not, break our brains, but ever since then there's like a really good run of really fun episodes.
There's definitely,
but it's hard.
There's definitely those times where it feels like, is it worth it? Like, is it worth our sanity to, you know, and our just our exhaustion, you know, that we're
being parents of two and
just, with little kids. It is a lot trying to run something like this with young kids. And so
what inspired us to continue?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we've been through enough of these like creative blocks and, you know, just burnout and stuff where we would get an encouraging word. I think that always helps to have people just encourage us and say that they love to listen to us. That's like, okay, that's enough. That makes it worth it.
We've gotten a couple from you, Rox Lehman. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's, you know, just realizing that it really is kind of our outlet too. You know, like that night, it didn't feel like it. There have been times where it didn't feel like it. It felt more like work and didn't feel as worth it. But when we really are able to tune into our love for it and just spark that fire again, like you said, it makes it worth it. We do love it. And we're doing a lot better after that one really rough night. I think that was the first night where we both really felt like, I don't know if we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for us to both even admit it to each other, I think. But ever since then, it has gotten a lot better. You know, there were times in the past where it was just like, oh, I'm just so tired. I'm like, I'm burnt out. But like, it was never a thought that like, I'm just done. You know, that was the first time I really felt that. But yeah, it's worth it.
Now everyone's going to be going back to our episodes to figure out which one it was. No, just kidding. But no, yeah, it's been a lot better. And so really what inspired us is you guys. So thank you so much for those encouraging words.
Yeah,
we got another one from you, Rox Lehman, who said, by the way, we've always said Rox Lehman. Watch it be like Rox Lemon. And we're just butchering your name.
Yeah, please let us know if we're saying it right, because we want to say it right.
Oh my gosh, we've been saying that like almost every episode.
I know.
But yeah, no. So the next one, she said, what moment in your influencer career are you most proud of? I would say, honestly, just being brave enough to start, having no idea how to run a podcast, having no idea to do like a split interview, you know, talking to people who are on the other side of the country and like, how to edit that and do all that stuff. Like there was a lot of firsts and I'm very proud that we even jumped into it.
Yeah.
Even knowing that, you know, we had a kid and another one was probably going to be on the way, like just jumping into it and going for it. But then there's been certain interviews we've been really proud of, certain episodes that have been really proud. We did hit one of our reels hit 1 million, so that was for the first time. So that's something I'm really proud of.
To you.
Thank you so much. Our Instagram like audience has grown a lot, so you know, very proud of that. I feel like it's not really anything I'm doing. There's pages that have 100 followers who are making better content than us. So shout out to all those pages. It's not that.
Yeah, that's not what it's about.
It's not what it's about, but it's really cool to see a little bit
grow.
of fruit.
Yeah. I mean, over time, like, you know, it did feel very, very minimal for a long time. And it was kind of just like, well, it's great. You know, at least we have this stuff and, you know, we're connecting with people. And then, over the 3 years, it's grown a lot, which has just been really fun to see.
Yeah. Any other proud moments?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always proud every single time, but
those
are some highlights.
We're proud of, you know, a lot of the episodes that have done really well in like connecting with you guys. I think like there's a few.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that have really, I feel like, just been a connection point for certain people that are in our circle, and that's been really cool to see.
No, it's really, that is a good point, because there's some episodes that are really fun to listen to, you know, I'm sure as a listener, or maybe they aren't, I don't know.
Hopefully.
But episodes that we create, that we heard, we did one, Why Are We Disney Adults? And so many people hit us up after that saying, oh my gosh, like this spoke to me.
Like, thank you for doing so much one.
And that's a huge proud moment, being like, wow, we created something that people were able to connect to. And that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to us both for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those questions, Rox Lemon.
Lemon.
But okay, let's move on to the next person. Wait,
Yeah.
I got that one. Do you want to get this one?
Yeah. Next one comes from @Ryback_Debbie. And she asked, if you're in the parks, do you like meeting your listeners/followers? Some like privacy. And I would definitely say that we love to meet people as often as we can in the parks. We've met a good handful at this point, and we're always pumped when people say that they want to meet up in the park.
Yeah.
It's been so fun to get to like meet some people for real in the park.
Totally. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, some trips are going to be a little harder to like fit things in just because we do have kids and, you know, it's just, you know, things can be a little bit harder to schedule. But when we are able to, yes, we absolutely love it. We're not about like our privacy, you know, while we're in the parks. Like we want to meet as many people as we can.
We love meeting people. It's like crazy that some people, you know, want to meet up and everything. And that is like so fun. We love that. We've met a handful of people and it's just the best. But yeah, we do have kids, you know, so we do have to prioritize them. Like if there's something they want to do. Also, being a parent in general, it's so hard to carry a conversation when there's two little people
You have no
running
idea.
around. So if we do meet you in the park and we seem a little absent-minded, know that it's because parent brain is like, okay, don't
What is
pull
this
that.
kid
Don't run
doing?
away.
What is
Don't
this
do
one
this.
screaming
Don't do that.
about? Like,
Yeah. So it's like our time is very limited when it does happen because we are parents of two. We're also going with my family. And so, you know, we don't get to go often. Family time. But yeah, no, if you ever see us in the parks, like stop us, say hi.
Yeah.
That means so much. And then one day if we go without the kids, maybe we could schedule
Just
like
meet
rides. You know what we should do?
everyone.
Yeah, we should be like, meet us outside of Mission Breakout and we could just
Just a big
ride.
meetup.
Yeah, big happiest hour, you know. Mission Breakout ride. And if you don't like Mission Breakout, you can't handle the drops, then we'll do Monsters thing right next to it. No, we'll do something. But yeah, no, it's just crazy that I mean, it's so weird when people say, "Oh, I listen to you every week." I'm like, "Really? Oh,
Like,
well,
oh my gosh.
Oh, you want to meet us at the park? Like, yeah, let's hang out." It's still so surprising to us. But thank you, by the way, Debbie, for that question. Really good question. So much fun.
Yeah.
Next, we hear from @the_Bucktails, who said, "Do you feel pressure to always create new content? I want to start a pod, but this worries me." By the way, your page is amazing. So you're already, you know, within the Disney community.
Yeah.
But starting a podcast is a lot of work. What I would say, we started one episode and then released it. And then we're like, what are we going to talk about the next week? And then
we had a lot of topics
we did
lined
have some
up.
topics, but we didn't have episodes lined up. As in, if you want to start a pod, what I would suggest and what we did not do, we started off as a weekly podcast. And we have really not stopped and
stuck to
like,
that 'cause
in
we
case we
started it
need to
that
stop. What I would say is do like a season format. I know a lot of people do that. Like maybe season 1, 10 episodes. Then you take a little bit of a break, you plan, and then you come out with season 2, which is another like 10 episodes. Then you take a little bit of a break. The cool thing with that is that you could, before you even start the podcast, record 5 episodes. And just kind of finish those off so you don't even have to think about them. And then you're always ahead. And then once that season ends, then you could start coming up with new episodes and recording those and then drop them weekly, but you're not recording them weekly. But for us, yeah, we get out here, do this every Tuesday, edit on Wednesday, do the upload on
Fast
Thursday,
turnaround.
and then Friday comes out. So yeah, if you want to start a podcast, think of those ways because you could definitely do it. You could do it every other week. You know, there's ways to jump, put your toe in the water without stressing your mind out to the max.
Yeah. I think like pre-planning a lot is helpful to have a lot of topics in mind written out. Maybe like you said, film a whole bunch of them before you even release one, just so it's like done
Ready
deal.
to go,
And you can like be planning ahead after all those ones are, you know, released. And then figure out, like what kind of a schedule you want to keep and maintain. Because figuring out like what day you want your episode to drop is important. And that plays into when you're going to be filming and editing and all that stuff. So you just want to kind of like have an idea of what all of that will look like in your the schedule that you
life,
already
yeah.
maintain. So yeah, there is a lot to it, but if you strategize and kind of plan it out, then, you know, I think you can do it efficiently.
Yeah. Do it. That'd be so awesome. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, it's a fun roller coaster.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that question. We have one more.
Last
one here. And this is one of the people we met in the parks, and we love her so much.
First, I think.
Yeah,
First
I think
ever.
so.
One of our like day one listeners.
Seriously. And you know who you are. At LuluB_buzzin_memories. Do you want to? Oh, I guess this is me. Yeah. I did the cool intro, so I might as well get this question.
Yeah.
So Lulu says, how do you make time to experience the magic so it doesn't feel like a job? And I think this is a great one to end on. I guess we already touched upon it a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, Disney has always just been magic for us, right? Like whether it's the movies, whether it's the music, whether it's being in the park, like there's so many aspects to it that we just love and connect with. So, you know, I guess coming up with topics is more fun usually. Like sometimes we'll just be hit with something that's like, oh, that would be really fun to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's fun. Being in the park, I think, is probably the hardest part, where you want to not make it feel like a job, but it kind of feels like it, just trying to get that content.
Yeah.
But we're working on that. Like we said, we're, you know, like, as with everything going to the park now with our kids and running the podcast, it's all still kind of in the works. Yeah. Still learning how to navigate it.
And I think prioritizing yourself and the magic, right? Like it's one of those things that I said, I was trying to get three posts down a week and stuff like that. But then I was like, you know what? No one's going to care that much if I drop that down to 2 a week. And so like when we're in the park, we could try to get content, but know that it's not the end of the world if you don't get everything. Yeah. You know, like no one's going to be that mad if you don't get the perfect shot and stuff like that. So just being like, you know what, this is more important for me to enjoy this ride and not have my phone out. Also, I think another way to connect with the magic that we've been doing recently is like revisiting old Disney animation movies that we haven't watched in a while. Like Pocahontas, it had been a long time, and just seeing the beauty in that animation, it's just like, whoa, that's why we do it. You know, hear a beautiful song. Whoa, that's why we do it. That's why we're so excited to talk about all this stuff, because it's watching those movies again, listening to that music. That is like, that's what it's all about. Like there's some magic there that we need to talk about. Totally. I've found one thing that's, I guess, kind of interesting is that I used to always listen to Disney content, like Disney YouTubers and stuff like that on repeat. But now that I talk Disney and then I have to listen to the whole episode as I'm editing and creating, I have
scaled back a bit.
Yeah. I've watched other kind of things that I'm interested in. Like when football season was in, I was listening to a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, I'll switch it up so that when I do come back to talk to Disney, it's not like
talk to Disney.
Talk about Walt. Disney. Talk to Walt. It's not like the only thing I listen to, because I think you need a little break from it and then you come back. But I think movies and music, especially during like the Renaissance era, that always gets me like
inspired. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, like realizing what your capacity is, I think has been important for us both as we've hit those burnouts and creative blocks and things where we just are like, oh, like where is the like passion behind this, and you know what are we doing, you know? I think realizing when we need like to maybe take a step back for a week, or you know, just kind of like recharge a little bit. I think that's important. I think you have to be able to recognize when you need that as a human being. And just kind of don't beat yourself
over it, and don't stress yourself out too much.
Exactly.
It's very important. But I love that question. This has been such a cool episode. So cool to finally like talk about our feelings of like being on Instagram and being on doing a podcast.
We've really done. Like we don't really talk about ourselves and like our show that much unless it's
Yeah.
like a big milestone thing. Like we don't really do episodes like this as often. So it is fun. And I think you guys probably have been interested in knowing kind of the ins and outs of what we do.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to think deep on this stuff.
For sure. Yeah, it's been awesome. And wow, 3 years in, over 130 episodes. And really, honestly, a
wild.
lot of this stuff goes back to you guys. Like we said, when we hear from people, oh, we love your show, or like we listen to it, that's so weird, so crazy.
It
And
still
literally
means so
that
much.
keeps us going. That's
Every
like a
time.
perfect boost. Boop, right when we need it. You never know when we need it. You never know when someone else needs it. So let's take this Disney magic outside of this community too. Say nice things to people, because really you don't know when someone needs to hear a nice word. And so we've heard that from you guys, and it's really brightened our day. I just love this community, and it's really kind of made me feel like we just need to just bring that magic and that love out to everyone. But
That's true.
again, you guys are all amazing. Thank you so much. And we will not see you next week. We will be in the parks, but we will be
Yes.
back after that to talk about our trip.
Trip report time. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a crazy trip. Fun
Crazy trip. There might be some fun things in there as well. But anyways, we will not see you then, but we'll see you the week after. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you then. Bye.
See you later, guys.